factors. Mr. Vasudevan, good morning. Good business growth in small business loans and vehicle finance. So what's the outlook looking like for the rest of the year?
Yeah, good morning. So our second quarter was somewhat good. We had a 33% growth in our advances compared to the last year's second quarter. And our disbursement also grew by 11% compared to the 5% of the first quarter. Our disbursement had grown by about 11% in the second quarter. And in terms of PAT, we did take the benefit of the revised income tax norms that has come in now. And to take that benefit, we had to write off our entire DTA. That's the deferred tax asset. That's about 24 crores. So that entire 24 crores had to be written off in this quarter. So that had a small negative impact on the PAT, but for that the PAT would have been better.
What were the factors that led to the NIM expansion for you? And do you expect to see any further improvement on that as well in the second half?
See, our NIM was more or less stable at about 8.8%. It's kind of remained stable in the last two quarters. So see, we will be filing the DRHP shortly for the IPO for the bank, and as per regulatory framework, we are not expected to give any forward guidance at this point in time. So I don't think we are permitted to talk of the next two quarters, but we can say that our second quarter NIM has kind of been stable compared to the first quarter.
Okay. What about slippages though? Because they have seen an uptick and the asset quality as well has deteriorated. Is it going to continue to be an issue in the latter half of the year, you suspect?
See, our GNPA was 2.88% in the second quarter compared to 2.75% in the first quarter. And traditionally, historically, if you look at our patterns of NPA movements, generally the NPAs do rise in the first two quarters and do tend to come down in the second two quarters, the second half of the year. So that it's a trend that we have seen even the last year. If you just happen to go back to the last year, you would see a similar trend.
What about disbursements? Because they too have declined on a sequential basis. Are you anticipating the slowdown to actually continue in the second half of the financial year? I mean, what we should deduce?
No, actually our disbursement went up. If you notice, our first quarter of this year, our disbursement was up by 5%, whereas in the second quarter of this year, our disbursement was actually up by about 11%. So quarter on quarter, the disbursements have actually gone up.
Okay, fair enough. And, if we also take a look at credit costs, that was up this quarter. What's your guidance on credit cost going forward for the rest of the year?
Well, as I mentioned, we are not permitted at this point, since we are about to file the DRHP, we are not permitted to give any guidance. So I will have to refrain from giving any guidance. But I can give you some breakup for the increase in the credit cost. There was an increase in the vehicle finance credit cost in the second quarter compared to the first quarter. That was by about 7 crores, and there was another increase of around 3.5 crores, which is the increase in provision required based on aging of the NPA of certain part of the NPA. This was a component of the increase between the first and the second quarter, but I'm sorry that I won't be able to give you any guidance in terms of how it will move into the third and fourth quarter at this point in time.
So I understand, of course, that you're prepping for the listing and can't share much on certain things, but anything that you can share with us, any updates, plans, issue size that you can, discuss at this point?
Well, we are in the process of filing the DRHP, so shortly we expect to file the DRHP. The DRHP should contain certain amount of information, and once we file the DRHP, then we are permitted to talk about everything that is there as part of the DRHP. So I think we'll be able to communicate slightly in a more comprehensive manner, maybe after we file the DRHP.
Okay, Mr. Vasudevan, great to have you on the show with us. Thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking with us today.
Thank you.